Okay, well today we're going to be covering Chapter 1-4, Properties of Real Numbers. The objective for today is to identify and use properties of real numbers. So make sure you jot that one down. That one was required for you to copy in your notes. Okay, and we're still working with the prepares for Ch.1-4.2, so we're still kind of going through the setup here. Okay, the first properties that we're going to cover is the commutative property of addition. So as we start talking about this, we're going to jot this stuff down. So this is actually kind of later in your notes here. The commutative property of addition says this, that if we were to have some A plus some B, so we're talking addition, it is equal to taking B plus A. Okay, so that's the first one of your properties, commutative property of addition. A plus B is equivalent to B plus A. Now in terms of an example, which is off to your side in your notes, we have, if I take 10 plus 5, which is 15, as many of you know, okay, we're going to take 5 plus 10, which is still 15. Okay, so it doesn't matter how you add, what order you add in, it's just that you get the same thing. Okay, so commutative means order does not matter when you're adding. Okay, the second one we're going to go to is commutative property of multiplication. Okay, commutative property of multiplication. Same thing as up above. You know, we have some A times B, so they're side by side, so that's times, is equivalent to B times A. Okay, and again, an example of this would be 3 times 2, well that's 6. Well, that's equivalent to saying 2 times 3, okay, which is still 6. So how you do it is still the same thing. So order does not matter when you're talking commutative. Okay, and we'll reference that a lot this year. Okay, the next one we're going to go to is the associative. Now this is the one that, these two are the ones that everybody kind of messes up, especially associative. Okay, associative property of addition is talking about grouping. So the letters we're going to use here is, we're going to take A, and we're going to multiply, or excuse me, add, so we're in addition, A plus B plus C. Okay, and that's equivalent to, now we're going to take A plus B and then add in C. So notice that the order is the same. The order is the same here. The thing that changed is what we grouped. Okay, associative property is grouping. Okay, it's kind of like when you associate with somebody, that means you're, talking with somebody, you can change groups of who you're talking to. So associative property. Okay, an example of that for you would be 3 plus 4 plus 7 is equivalent to 3 plus, now parentheses, 4 plus 7. Okay, so we're adding that quantity there. The last one down here, associative property of multiplication, is the same way. Okay, it is A times B times C. Okay, and that's equivalent to taking A times B together and then multiplying by C. Okay, so an example of that would be like 2 times 5 times 4 is going to be equivalent to 2 times 5 times 4. Okay, so it's just the parentheses here is what's changing. Okay, that's changing the order of the problem. Okay, so as we go through some examples here, we have what property is being displayed. So as we analyze this, what we want to look at is this left side and compare it to the right side. So as you look at this, we see that we have y plus 2.5 in parentheses. Okay, so probably when we see parentheses, we're probably jumping straight to associative of some sort, but let's look over here. Now we have y out here and 2.5 plus 28 over here. So let's look at the order. Y comes first, 2.5 second, and then 28 last. And it's all addition, so that means we're doing some property of addition. And notice that it's a grouping that changed. Okay, so this is indeed the associative, and we can just use property of addition, and you can just put addition sign there. Better than me. Okay. The next one, part B, you got 3 plus 2x plus 5, and then you have 2x plus 3 plus 5. Okay. So again, let's pay attention to what happens. You have 3 plus 2x, but in the second one, you have 2x plus 3. So notice that the 3 and 2x are both still in parentheses, it's just their order has changed. Okay, so they're still grouped in the same grouping, it's just that they have changed in their order. So therefore, that would be the commutative, and you can go COMM for that one. Okay, property, and it's still of addition. Okay, so notice these are the two tough ones, so pay attention there. Okay, 3 plus 2x, 2x plus 3. Up here it was y plus 2.5, but then the y was on the outside. So that's the big difference, is what's grouped and what order there. Okay, so let's go down to part C. Now we have multiplication in there. It's 2 times the quantity 3 plus 6y is equal to 3 plus 6y times 2. Okay, so there, notice that the parentheses is exactly the same, so the 2 is on the opposite side, so the order has changed. So this would be the commutative property of multiplication. And just because the x sometimes can be confusing, we're just going to put of mul there at the end, multiplication at the end. You can use the x symbol for multiplication, that will work. Put it in parentheses, you'll be fine. Okay, well, part D, so let's see and make this comparison. Part D says 2 times 3 times 5, which is in parentheses, and then it's equal to the quantity 2 times 3, and then 5 on the outside. So notice what has changed. It was 3 and 5 in parentheses, now it's 2 and 3. Okay, so that has shifted the grouping of the parentheses, which now tells us that is associative. So we'll jot that down. Property of, and it's multiplication. And some people think, oh, I don't need to put the multiplication, it's just associative. No, it does matter. You need that. That is important that you specify which one, because they are technically different properties. Okay, so we're talking about equivalent expressions. So, each of these properties are bringing up the idea that they are exactly the same. Okay, so these are two expressions that are the same in value. 3 times 2 and 2 times 3, they both equal 6, so they're equivalent expressions. Okay, so again, if you have any questions, go to my webpage, check that out. Go to discussion board and post a question, or make a post on Twitter and let me know if you have anything. If not, we'll see you tomorrow. We'll have a discussion and we'll go over some of the classwork. Have a great night.